All right, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this seminar. My name is Afonso Solac. I'm civil engineer. I work for the Department of Software Development of CYPE. Today we are starting this new cycle of 3 webinars talking about the new solutions that CYPE just released 2 months ago during the release of the version 2021. Okay. During the next hour, maybe hour and a half, I'll be here sharing with you a little bit about my experience and the uses that my uses with this software CYPE architecture. Okay, this new solution that CYPE just released 2 months ago. Okay, so we will be talking about 3D design, architectural 3D design, okay, BIM modeling. So we'll start our Open BIM project using this tool that is a free tool that is available on the BIMserver.center platform. Okay, with this tool, we will generate this first model, this architectural model that will be the link that will link the other disciplines between themselves and with this first step of our project. Okay, so to do that, we will use some examples that were previously developed, and we will create 2 of them during the presentation too. Okay, now you can see in my screen. I hope you can see well. Okay, if you please could confirm me. Also again sending a message that you can see my screen with the program, the interface of the program. You can see a little building. It's a 6 or 7 floors multi-story building. Okay, just confirming here. I think we can see yes, building and tank. Thank you very much for your confirmation. Okay, so this is the interface of CYPE architecture. I'm using the version 2021A. We are about to release the 2021B. Okay, maybe during the next week. If you are watching this video on YouTube or any other platform, maybe you have a new version of this software available at BIMserver.center. So I recommend you to check the BIMserver.center to check which is the last release that we have of this software. Okay. Okay, I will start showing this little model here. That is, of course, it's a model that is in a stage that is actually pre-advanced. It's not finished yet, but we have a lot of elements here. Okay, but I want to show use this example just to show some tools that we have here in the interface. Then we can change to an empty project and start doing some examples. Okay, this software actually it's quite nice because it's very flexible. We have a lot of options to work here. So if it's our first time with 3D modeling, the software is quite easy to learn how to modeling using a 3D environment or a 3D interface. But we can also work on 2D. So it's quite easy to just choose a view. Okay, we have a menu to create different views, and then we can work in a 2D view if we prefer to work in a 2D environment, like a CAD environment, for example. Okay, here in this panel on this side, the left side of our interface, we have these panels here where we can create these views. So in this case, this 3D model is divided in some floor plans. So one view for each level of our building, to second floor, to the third floor, fourth floor. So I created different views. These views are floor plans. So we are looking to the bottom of our level, but we can also create ceiling plans looking to the ceiling of our model. Okay, and we can also create, for example, here some elevations. So here we have the north elevation, the west elevation. Okay, when we open an elevation, we can see the other views here, these symbols, these lines here, showing where the other floor plans are located. So the first floor, second floor, and also the height of these levels, okay, these views. And we can also have 3D views. So this one, the first one that we were working before, it was a 3D view, okay? This 3D view have some information that is available, it's visible in this view, okay? And we can personalize this information. We can set the parameters to show more or less information, okay? For example, this project, it's already synchronized with BIMserver.center. This one is the architectural model, but this architectural model was used to generate the structural model, the plumbing facilities model, the HVAC system model, and other IFCs or other BIM elements or BIM projects that are synchronized with this project. And we can see also this information, okay? Here, for example, just to show an example, I will create a new 3D view. I will call, it's going to be a 3D view, but could be a ceiling plan, an elevation, a section, a generic plan. So I'll create a 3D view, and I will say that this is a 3D with, for example, the map facilities, okay? I can create that. It seems that is the same situation, but we can open the menu of this view and select, for example, other parameters that are synchronized with this model. For example, here we can synchronize some models that are that were sent to this project by other members of this project. So we can deactivate, and for example, here we have the map 3D view of the map facilities. Okay, so these IFCs that are together, that were created using the architectural model as reference. Okay, in the same way, for example, if we have here, we can create a 3D with the structural model. For example, structure, it's okay. And probably here we have a structural model. So here we have the structural model, and we can create the structural model. And using these layers that we have here on the left panel, this menu of layers, we can activate and deactivate the elements that are part of the architectural model. Okay, the elements that were created here at CYPE architecture. Okay, I just used this building to show a little bit how this system of views and layers work. Okay, I would like to show you a little bit more about this layer system. It's very interesting when we create these models. Sometimes it's complicated to generate the geometry because in each moment we are adding more and more information, and the model is more complex, and sometimes some elements are hiding other elements. So it's interesting to work with using layers. So as any other type of software that works with images and 3D objects like Photoshop or maybe other BIM modelers, these kind of layers are very common, and it's quite easy to use. It's quite similar to other softwares. Here, for example, I created some layers to this model. One of these layers I called facades, so I can activate and deactivate these facades. Then we have another one that are the interior walls. Okay, so we can activate and deactivate these interior walls. Okay, and then here we have another one that is there are these slabs. Because we have here the structural model activate, I'll deactivate the structural model here, for example here, and now we will see the slabs that they should be here. Here it's one of our slabs. We can activate and deactivate these slabs. But you can see that there is something wrong here, because when I'm deactivating these slabs, I'm deactivating also the carpentry and the railing here, because these layers were created by me, and during the moment that I classified these elements assigning one layer to this element, I assigned the railings and the carpentries to the slab. So it was a mistake. So we can easily create a new layer, for example, carpentry, for example, and then we can change elements from one layer to another layer. So here I will put these elements here, for example, just to have an example. I think it's okay. To the layer carpentry, okay? I'll confirm that, and when I deactivate that, you can see that the element was assigned to a new layer. Okay, so using this system, we can create different layers here, and using the best combination that we think that's going to be the best combination for our project. Trying to hide elements when it's necessary to keep modeling our building. Okay. So I prefer to use this model here to start our presentation, because when we create these views here, there are some things that are very interesting to show when we create these floor plans. Okay, so for example, this fourth floor, actually it's part of our 3D model that that have some parameters of distance to the top plane, distance to the bottom plane, and in part of our geometry is it's hidden when we select these parameters, when we define these parameters. For example, here, if you see here, let me activate our work plan, this little work plan here. Okay, we can activate this drawn grid using this little button here, and the distance from this this grid to the top or to the bottom. Okay, so this distance here and this distance here are these parameters that are defined here: distance to the top plane and bottom plane. So for example, if I put here 4, it's a huge number, and here, I don't know, maybe 2, you see a little bit more of our building. So we are creating a slice of our building when we generate this floor plan. Okay, the same situation is when we create an elevation or a section. We can define these parameters of visibility, the distance of our the distance to the planes that we have in our views, to show more or less information in that view. Okay, so that's how it works. Okay, that's nice. So we have been looking a little bit about these systems here, and I will open a empty project and start showing the other tools that we have here on these 3 tabs that there are actually the tabs that we use it to generate our model. So I will create here a new. I will not save this project. I'll create a new example. Today is 21st September. Okay. And here we can connect to the BIMserver.center platform. I'm now already logged in using my account to the platform. I'll create a new project. So it's a new example. Today is 21st September. It's just an example. It's not visible on the platform. It's closed, and here we can add a description. It's we can do that if we want. Let me check if we have here some comments, just to be sure that is everything all right. Okay, perfect. And I will just finish the creation of this project in the platform. So in a few minutes here on the platform, on my project menu, I will see a new project. It's going to be an empty project with the name that we with that name. It was new example. Okay, so when we open the software, we have this information. We have this draw grid here in the level 0, okay? The level 0, it's defined at 0 meters, okay, level 0, and with four different elevations: east, north, south, west, and a 3D view, okay? So that's how the program starts. So that's quite clean, okay? We can change the perspective from there are two types of perspective: the isometric and the conic. So when we work, maybe it's better to work in a isometric perspective, but when we represent this model and export these images, for example, it's more interesting to use a conic perspective, okay? And we can also set some other parameters of our workspace using this menu here, the general configuration menu, okay? Here, for example, we can change the units of our software. We have here some options to change the units, and also, for example, the background, maybe using a background with some color, or maybe if we prefer using a black background. In my case, I prefer to work in a white background. Let's use the white background here, okay? We can also set some parameters to the 3D performance according to the hardware that we have. So here there is a lot of options to set the according to the performance of our hardware, okay? So you can select this information here, okay? To start modeling here, we must know that we have different ways to start our project, okay? So the program have three tabs. So the tab Sketch, the tab Architecture, and the tab Furniture, okay? Although they are here in this order, Sketch, Architecture, Furniture, we can start using, for example, just the Architecture, then going to the Sketch, then going to the Furniture, or starting at Sketch, using the Sketch as a reference to the architectural model, and then add some furniture, or maybe start just adding some furniture in an empty space and then create the walls just to have an idea about the size of this space that we are creating. For example, that would be very useful. Start putting the chairs of a classroom, adopting a standard distance, and putting, for example, I don't know, 40 chairs in a space, in an empty space, and then drawing the walls of this classroom, and then calculating the size of this classroom. Or another perspective could be start creating the school with these classrooms, and then putting the chairs inside of the classroom. So we have here three tabs, but you don't have to start in one tab, then go to the other, then go to there. You can use the tools here according to the needs of your project. Okay, I will start creating a sketch. This is a quite a nice compendium of tools that they are very useful to the first moment of our project. When we are thinking in the project, we are developing the ideas, we are studying the geometry, the size of the spaces, the format of the spaces. So we can use this kind of drawing tools that we have here on the sketch tab, okay? All the information that is developed here, we can export to BIMserver.center, and for example, we can represent that on augmented reality or in virtual reality, or also just share the idea with some friend that is maybe helping us on the project. So the information that is created adopting these tools can be exported as a geometrical information, a 3D model, although there is just a drawing, okay? Once we create this 3D model, this drawing, we can use this model to generate the architectural model, and here we can add the BIM parameters. So here we can classify the elements adopting some standards as the IFC standard, that is the case of this this program. So in the sketch tab, we are talking about lines, surface, volumes, and the architectural tab, we're talking about construction elements, walls, roofs, streets, windows, stairs. Okay, so that's the main difference between both of them. Okay, so let's stop talking and let's do something here. I'll start, for example, creating a quadrilateral. Okay, so when I start this option here, I have three entry modes. One of them is just giving 3 points of this quadrilateral, or adopting a diagonal, or even defining the sizes, the dimensions of this quadrilateral, and then putting this quadrilateral as a kind of stamp. You know, you can define the information here and then just stamp in the grid in this case. So if I change the elements here, let's put, for example, 6 and 8. Okay, then we can create our quadrilateral. Okay, I will mix. We use some of these drawing tools, then combine with some addition these tools to edit this geometry. So for example, here the first tool is to delete something. So we can delete just selecting the information that was drawn before. When we have a surface, the surfaces are associated to some lines. So when we delete one of these lines, the surface is broken. So the surface is gone in this case, but not all the lines. Okay, and we can delete just, for example, the surface and maintain the lines. So it's quite easy to do that. Okay, if we have this situation and we want to regenerate this surface, it's we just have to draw again one of these lines. So for example, this one. Okay, another option could be, for example, drawing this diagonal here. So we are creating this surface again. We created this 2D surface, but we can also draw in a 3D way. So we can draw to other directions. So for example, using this tool here, the orthogonality, we can activate this information and, for example, define that I would like to create a line with a length of 2 meters, for example. Okay, and then we have that line in a 3D way, so adopting the blue axis in this case. Then, for example, we can create a line from this point to this point, for example. Then we have this triangle that is a vertical triangle. Okay, so we are working in a 3D environment, but in any time, if we need, we just can select one of these views, for example, this one, and work in a 2D way. For example, here, creating a circle. So I'm doing a circle in 2D, or an ellipse. Here, for example, I'll create an ellipse in a 2D way, and I can rotate, orbit, and see the 3D model in this case. Okay, I'll save here. Then we can use other tools, for example, to generate 3D elements. One of them that is quite interesting is the extrude option. So it's this one here. We can select one surface, must be a surface, and then we can extrude this element like this, for example, defining a length, for example, 8 meters. Okay, so we are creating this this prisma from an ellipse. Okay, we can also do the same thing here, because now we have a new surface here. For example, adopting the length of 2 meters, for example, and then maybe we can create from, I don't know, from here. Okay, here I'll do with, I don't know, 3 meters. Okay, so from this first ellipse, we can create this geometry using these options of to generate this extrusion. Okay, another option is to generate an offset. For example, from this surface, we can apply an offset. The offset is this effect we can do inside or outside of our surface. For example, here inside with a distance of 0.5 meters. Okay, so we created this offset here. Okay, then for example we could extrude this surface here. I don't know. Let's use 3 meters. Okay, there is another way to extrude elements that is adopting a fixed length. For example, I use always 1 meter. So I must check this checkbox here, and then I just have to select the surface, and it's gonna be always with 1 meter. Okay, so we can create this kind of effect here. Okay, for example, from here. Okay. We can also create negative extrusions. For example, putting here a minus, and then we have it to inside of the volume. And for example, if we erase this surface, we can see that the extrusion was created to the other side of the volume. Okay. Right. I'll save here. Let me see, because maybe we have some questions here. Just a second. Okay, the question, we have a question. William is asking us how we can change from how we can change the drawing plan. Okay, there are different ways to change. So one of them is quite easy. Working in the 3D view, we can just select using this little button here, change the projection. For example, if I select this projection, I'm looking the 3D model from the sky. Let's say that. Okay, if we select this one, we look according to this combination of axes here. Okay, and another way is creating a new view. For example, let's create a new one. I'll create a new view that's going to be a floor plan. This floor plan, it's going to be at this height. Okay, the height that I clicked before, the height was 4.99 meters, and I will say that this is a floor plan 1, for example. Okay, and when I create that, I have the floor plan here. Okay, so this is another way to change from 3D to 2D. To orbit like this, you must use the shift button, okay, and then the center button of your mouse. Okay, so the wheel of your mouse, you can orbit, or you can also click on this button here, 3D orbit, and just use the mouse to orbit on your screen. Okay, you have here the pen tool here available here, pen and orbit. You can use these tools. Okay. All right, I'll come back here to the 3D view. I prefer to work in a 3D view to generate this first model. Okay, but remember that we are just creating a sketch. So this strange building that we are creating here, because I'm a very famous architect and I really enjoy creating these buildings that have this kind of formats and geometries that are maybe very difficult to calculate after that. But this is just a sketch. So this is just my idea. Okay, it's not exactly a BIM model yet, because there is no IFC here. There is no walls, no windows. We don't know nothing about the information, building information modeling. Where is the information? Actually, this is just a sketch. So it was useful to think about this building and to generate this first model. Okay. But now we must convert this information to an architectural model. Okay, so we'll jump to the second tab, and here we have more elements that are maybe if you work with BIM, maybe you know this kind of elements. We are not talking about drawings. We are talking about construction elements or architectural elements. For example, we have here some vertical elements. Which kind of vertical elements? We have walls, for example, or we have curtain walls, roofs, and railings, or even columns, architectural columns in this case, okay? For example, if we start with a wall, this wall could be, we have different ways to model this wall. For example, using this first option here by polyline. What it means, I will define an adjustment if it's the center, left or right, the type if it's external or internal, the height, and a thickness. And then I must draw a polyline using, for example, tools like this, the orthogonality and the this option that when you activate this option here, you can put the length of this segment, for example, 4 meters. If I deactivate this option here, it's free. You can just draw your wall. Okay, so this was the first way to introduce a wall. Okay, this wall was a wall, an external wall with 3 meters and a thickness of 30 centimeters. We can edit this wall and, for example, say that no, it's not 3, it's 6, I don't know, and then we can change the parameters of this wall. We can also change the reference, it means the name of this wall. This information is very important because the other softwares that can use this model, for example, to a thermal or acoustic simulation, or even to the structural analysis, we must know which kind of wall that we have here to add some add other parameters, acoustic parameters, thermal parameters, structural parameters in other softwares that connect with this model. Okay, we can also create a group of walls. In this case, it's creating a label, so we can create walls that are the type 1, for example, and then we can associate each label to a level. So we can create a level, and the levels we have here. So the levels are actually the floors of our buildings. When we have a level, it means that we have the floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. But maybe in some cases we want to create more views than levels. For example, a view in the middle between the level 1 and level 2, because there is a detail that we want to show in our model. So we can create the levels. So here we are talking about BIM model, creating levels, but we can also create views that are coincident or not with these levels using floor plans. Okay, but there are other ways to introduce this wall. The first one, it was this polygonal by polyline, for example, but we can create by points. In this case, we don't have the parameter height. Why? Because we will create 1 point, another point, another point, another point, another point. We can create the geometry that is it's free of height. Let's say that you can create, adopting different points, the geometry of your building. It was orthogonal, but could be not orthogonal, like this, for example. Could be here orthogonal, but now it's not orthogonal. But let me try here. Should be coplanar. You can see that when it's coplanar, we can see the thickness of the section of the wall here. Okay, so here, for example, let me open the orthogonal here, and then we can have this kind of situations here. Okay, could be very useful when the geometry is not so simple, when we have a complex geometry. But the best way to introduce a wall here is using the surfaces that we created before on our sketch model. So this is the best point. This is the duality between sketch and architecture. Here, all that information that was used to generate your first model, your first 3D model, can be used to generate the construction elements. In this case, a wall. So I will select this option here. So it's the introduction of a wall per surface wall area. Okay, so I will select the adjustment, the type, and the thickness again. And then I just have to select one of the surfaces that I created before to get this geometry, you know, to use this geometry as reference to create my BIM model. So with that, we have a lot of flexibility. We can create different geometries. Some geometries they could be very complex in some cases. Okay. Let me do something very nice here. Let's create here, for example, coming back to the sketch tab, a circle in this surface. Okay, I'll put a circle here and another one here, for example. Oh, this is too big. I'll do another one here. Okay, and I will raise this little circle here. Okay, then I'll go back to the architectural tab and I use the vertical elements. I will use a wall and I will activate this option here, include the openings of the surface. I'll apply that, and when I select the surface, we have these effects. So that's very nice because you can combine when you are modeling using this sketch or creating your drawing, combining these elements here, creating different geometries, and then just apply, in this case, a wall to this geometry. So that's quite interesting. We can do the same thing to a roof, for example, or a horizontal element, for example, a slab. Horizontal elements are here in this menu, and we have the floor slab, for example. The floor slab, we have also a surface that function that is similar to that, and we can select for him, for example, here. We can add the slabs of our building. Okay, this slab, it was with a thickness of 0.5. I put 0.2, for example. It was the type of internal floor slab. It was not okay, so it was a mistake. I will change for roof, for example, and then we have here the information updated here on the model. We can also change the adjustment. What it means now, it's adjusted according to the center of the element, but we can adjust, for example, with the below the surface, for example, like this, or like this, for example. Okay, so we can adjust the information in these three ways. Okay, and more things that we can do here. Coming back to the vertical elements, let's add any other element here. For example, curtain walls. We can add curtain walls. The curtain walls, we have different parameters. For example, the height, the spacing between the elements of the curtain wall, the size of these elements, and we just have to draw this curtain wall and then define the height of this curtain wall. Okay. Then we can edit this information. For example, changing this distance between transoms here. So we can edit this information. Okay. The same thing we can do using, for example, here the railings. So the railings, let me put here on the level 0. We can create our railings like this. Okay, and then we can also edit this information. For example, changing the height. Let's put, I don't know, 0.3, and some other elements here. Add some panels. Change the color. For example, let's put the hoop color here, and we have here this element updated. Okay, so here let's change the distance. For example, let's put a 0 here, and let's see what happens. So we have this situation. Okay, more elements that we can create here. We can add columns. So we are talking about architectural columns. They could be circular, rectangular. For example, circular here. We can change the diameter, for example, for changing the diameter, the adjustment. In this case, we are talking about the vertices that we have in our section. Then the height, for example, adding a 6 meters high column. And these columns, when we introduce these columns here on the architectural model, when we export this information to BIMserver.center and open in another software, like, for example, CYPE, a software for structural analysis, we can read this information and generate the structural model, or that model that will be used to the structural analysis. Okay, so this information the architect can add in an architectural way, let's say that, and then the engineer or the civil engineer can read this information and use this information. Don't have to add these columns again. Okay, so that's quite interesting. We have the same situation here for other elements. For example, when you add any slab, could be a roof, a screed, internal slab, this information can be sent to CYPE, for example, and we can then just characterize this slab, defining the best structural solution to this project. Okay. Here on horizontal elements, we can add more elements. For example, here, suspended ceilings. Let's suppose that here we must add a suspended ceiling. We can create a perimeter, for example, here. Let's do that. I'm doing quite fast here. Okay, this is just a perimeter. And then we select a point to start the first element of our suspended ceiling. For example, starting from here. And here we have our suspended ceiling. This suspended ceiling was created with elements with this dimension. We can change that, for example, .3, and we can select by two types, continuous or here removable suspended ceilings. If we accept, we can see the difference that we have here. Okay, so two types of suspended ceilings that we can add in our project. Also, we can also move these elements if we need to move it, and also edit these properties if it's necessary. Okay, we can also, for example, copy these elements, for example, to a second floor, for example, or to another room that is similar. Okay, we can move these elements. It's this kind of tools are very common. We have in other softwares the same tools. Okay, here also inside of the architecture tab, and talking a little bit more about the walls, here we have some tools to adjust the geometry of these walls. For example, this corner here was generated by two walls, that these walls were created using the adjustment in the center of the element. Okay, so here in the center, here in the center. We have two options to regenerate this corner and finish fill this space that is remaining here. One of them is changing the adjustment. So, for example, we can change the adjustment, but we are moving the wall in our model. So sometimes it's impossible to do that, but that's one option. But here it's adjusted using the right side, and here in the center. Okay, I'll put this in the center again because there is another way that is using these tools here. For example, this one here, extend face. It's quite easy. We could, for example, select this face and say that this face should be extended until this face, and then we have this this corner finished. And then if we see here, this one stills on the adjustment on the center, and here also in the center. Okay, here, so we have different tools to adjust the geometry that we created before using the construction element. So we can cut, we can delete, we can subtract, we can here we can do these adjustments. Okay, if anytime we can regenerate to the geometry of this element to the first geometry that we introduced. For example, if I click here, I will have this situation. Okay, we will come back to the start model or the first model. Okay, all right, let me see what we can see here. We have been talking about vertical elements, horizontal elements. We can also add some roofs. For example, we can add the slope formation. That's quite interesting to flat roofs. So we can add a perimeter here, for example, and then we can set the parameters of elevation and the position of the drains. And For example, we can have a elevation of, I don't know, 40 centimeters and a drain in 10 centimeters. When we accept, we have these elements included here. So it's very good to flat roofs to generate this kind of drains. Okay, but we can also have roofs with tiles. So to create a roof with tile, I'll create first here, for example, a generic plan is going to be based on a triangle. So for example, here I will create this little triangle here, and I will extrude this triangle here. Oh, this is too small. For example, from here, I'll create this triangle here. It's going to be the reference to our roof. So here on the architectural tab, I'm going to the roofs, and then roof tiles, and then I select a perimeter. For example, this plane, this generic plane that was created before, the perimeter was assigned to this area. It's the yellow line, and now I selected the direction of the tiles. So from this point to this point, okay, adopting the same direction that this line, okay, and the tiles were modeled and included on our model, okay. Then, for example, we could add some rigs here, for example, adopting this point and this point, for example, okay. So we could do this kind of modeling, okay. Of course, at this moment, the sketch was just a reference, so we can use this little button here, show or hide sketch, and maintain just the tiles, okay. Of course, we must add some structure here. In this example, we didn't, but we could create this structure using slab, for example, or maybe some bars of a wood structure that can be generated using this program or any other program, for example, Type 3D, that is a software to structural calculation. Okay. Here we can add some openings. For example, in this walls here, we can add different types of openings. For example, doors. Here we have different kind of doors. So we have doors with one part, or here double doors with double leaf, different types here. We can set the parameters, for example, the type of handle, also the size of, if you have or not a glazed opening, and the size of this opening. For example, here, I know, let's change some parameters here. Here, for example, then the color, for example, let's change the frame color to black, I don't know, or the glass to another type of blue. The opacity or the transparency of this material, let's say that it's not so transparent glass. And then once we finish these parameters here, when we finish the selection of these parameters, we can accept. And then we select one surface, must be an architectural surface. So we must have a construction element, must be a wall or a roof. If it's a window, a roof window, it does not work with a sketch. So we must create this entity before, this IFC entity, this constructional element, this architectural element. And for example, here I will select that this door is, for example, 2 meters from the corner, okay? And then I must select the direction of this door, okay? So here, for example, and the door was inserted, it was included, and the wall now have a new space on the wall, okay? So let's do the same thing with a window. So for example, using here a window, let's use a different width. For example, I don't know, like this, like this. No, this is too small. Okay, let's change that for another color here, just to show the difference. And here there is a nice property that is the height above the ground. For example, let's suppose that we want to have, I don't know, I think it's going to be 1.5 meters from the ground. So when I select that, sorry, here I must check this. Okay, you can see that the point where my mouse is pointing, it's actually a little bit far from the window. So it's 1.5 meters far. So we can select here, for example, a point here on the ground, and then we can add our window. Okay. Here we can add some tools on some skylights. For example, here let's put this skylight. Let's use this. Here we can add these skylights, for example. Okay, in this case, adding these skylights on the roofs or the slabs that we created before using the horizontal elements option. Okay. Then we have some connections. For example, here we can create some stairs, ramps, elevators. We can add some curved ramp spans. So that's quite nice. That's quite useful, actually. Let's do some examples here. Adding, for example, an elevator, a lift. So this elevator, for example, could have width, depth, height. For example, let's maintain these parameters here, and we can set the dimensions of the door, if the opening is to both sides or just one side. And once we create these parameters that are the geometry of this elevator or this lift, we must select a point and then add the stops. Actually, these stops, they will be almost always the same stops that we have here on the levels. So we can create here and say that we have a stop at 0 meters, then another one at 3 meters, then another one at 6, another 9. So the other one is not 9. It's going to be 10.5, something like that. Okay, and we can select for each elevation in which side is the entrance of this lift. Okay, so when we have entrances on both sides, we must add elevations in both sides. Okay, so we'll just accept here. And here we can see the elevator or the lift and the track of this lift. So we can see where this lift will be located once it's in movement. Okay, so we can see that the last elevation, because it was 10.5 or 10.5, it's different. So we can see here that the doors are, and we have this space between these doors. So let's put here, for example, 9 and accept. We can see the difference. Okay. To create a stair, for example, we can use this stairwell here. It's very, very useful. We can add how many repetitions we want to do. For example, let's say that we have 10 repetitions. We have here some parameters to add the last standing. If you want to add railings, the type of this stairwell, for example, rotation to the left, right, if it's this type, this one is quite nice. Then we have inside of this stairwell, we have the spans or the stair spans. Each stair span have a configuration. So here we can define the width, the number of steps, the type. For example, this one is quite nice. The size of the different elements that we have here. You can see that depending on the type, we have some parameters or not. So this one needs more parameters to define this geometry. This one don't need parameters actually. And then we can also change the materials of these elements here. Okay. But the stairwell needs a landing. For example, this stair span have 100 centimeters of width. So our landing must be double of that. For example, 200 centimeters. We can also change the materials here. And then we can set some parameters of the railings here, the type of railings, for example, because here we selected that we have railings on both sides. So here we can define these parameters. I will accept that. And the stair could be introduced on the model just with a single click here. Okay, so here we have our stairwell, but these elements are created separately. So we can, for example, now delete some elements or move one of these elements, for example, here, I don't know, or maybe we want to edit this element and say that, no, it's not 2 meters, it's, I don't know, 4 meters, and the format is different. Okay, oh, I lost it, it's somewhere here. I don't know where it was, but whatever. So we can edit this information at any moment. So here in the railings, let's change the separation. Let's put 20, for example. Then here we have now 20. Okay, that's the point. Okay, we can also create here some ramps. So for example, this one, it's quite nice. We can select here, just put a name, ramp 1, define some parameters here, and add a ramp. Okay, and this one here, it's quite nice because we can select, for example, one point, another point, then let me see here and here. Oops, it was not like this. Just a second here. So here. No, it's not exactly that. Actually, here I don't really remember how to add this kind of ramps here. But here you have different ways to add ramps and make, for example, the garage or the ramp of your garage could be very useful to use this kind of connections here. Okay. Then we can add some swimming pools, for example, a swimming pool, rectangular swimming pool. I don't know, 10 per 10, 20 per 10 with a depth of 2 meters. We can add this swimming pool, or for example, creating a polygon, I don't know, like this. So we can create a swimming pool too. Okay. To finish this part, we can add some furniture. For example, we could add a bed here, or there are different types of beds. We can change, for example, the color of some parts of this bed. So bed 1, for example, then we can add into our model, or I don't know, a chair. We have here we have a library of BIM objects that you can introduce in your model. It's nice that these BIM models can be, when you synchronize this project with BIMserver.center, they have some properties that are quite interesting, because, for example, the furniture or some of the furniture, for example, like the TVs, the cabinets, the microwaves, these elements, they will send information to the BIMserver.center, and softwares, for example, like CYPE, softwares to calculate the electrical facilities, will recognize these elements and will send some information to the system, and you have a notification that you must provide a sock, for example, near to this element. So it's a smart. It's a kind of smart object here. So you just have to introduce these elements here, and this kind of notifications can be sent from one software to another. The same situation we have here with the sanitary equipment, with the bathroom fittings. When you add one of these elements, for example, a sink, these points that are the connection between the sink and the plumbing facilities will be introduced to the model, and in the next step of the workflow, you just have to connect the pipe from this point that is already introduced when you include these elements on the architectural model. So it's they are kind of smart objects. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry, it was a little bit fast. My idea was to show a little bit one of the main elements that we have here. And to finish, I will create a new example. Now a kind of real example, okay? If we have time, I'll try to model a little bit of this this terminal here, this is the Rio de Janeiro airport. So this element here, let me see if we can orbit here. Just this terminal here, this part of the departure hall. I'll try to model part of them if we have time using CYPE architecture, and I will use this example to show a connection between CYPE architecture and a structural analysis software that is called CYPE 3D. Okay, just to show an example of interoperability that we can have using our softwares. Okay, to do that, let me clean everything that we have here. Let's clean the sketch tab, then the architectural tab. Oop, here we have a little problem that actually I think it's going to be easier to create a new project. Just a second here. If you have any question, you can just send a message to us. We try to answer during the presentation or in the end of the presentation. I'm just opening CYPE architecture again. I will create a new project. So new example, airport, Rio, for example, and I'll create a new project, new example. Actually, I can connect to the same project that we created before. We don't have to create a new software or a new project always on BIMserver.center. We must create a new file on CYPE architecture, but not necessarily a new project at BIMserver.center. We can have a lot of models created with different files of CYPE architecture and synchronizing this folder, this place that we have in our accounts at BIMserver.center. So it was this one, new example, 21st of September. I'll finish that. And I would like to show some other features that I didn't show before. The first is I must have some references to draw the geometry of this airport. So I use these tools that we have here. We can import DWG files or image files, for example. I will import here some files that I created. I already have on my computer. We can import DWG, DXF, or DWF files, and also different type of images. I will use images, and here I have two images that I would like to import to my project. One is the terrain that I just it's just a print screen from Google Maps, and another one that is it's the section of the building. So I will import that. Both of them now are inside of my program. They are available to be represented in one of our views that we can create or we created before in our project. Okay, but first we must set the scale of these images. For example, this terrain here, this is the terrain. We can use this option here and adjust the scale of this template. Selecting this tool here, we know that the scale, that this distance is 20 meters. So I will select this distance, for example, and I will say this is 20 meters. Okay, so I will set that and accept here, and now this image is on the scale. Okay, the same situation to the section 1.jpg. So I'll click here and I will find one dimension that I know. For example, this one, I know that from here to here we have, in this case it was millimeters, so it's gonna be 2.72 meters. So I will select that, I will accept. Now it's on the scale, and we can also select the orange of this image. The orange now it's here, it's a good place. I will not change that, but if you want, we can change the orange, the coordinates of the orange, just selecting another point. I will maintain this one, but I think it's okay. So I will accept that, and these templates are available to be used and assigned to these views. For example, I will assign the section or the terrain template to the 3D view or to the level 0 view. Okay, how do that? This button was used to load the different templates that I have in my project, and this button can be used to select which template I would like to activate to this view. For example, level 0 terrain, I will activate that. And here we have the terrain activated on the screen. Okay, so here we have the terrain. Okay, but if we come here to the 3D view, it's not available because that's one parameter of this view, the view level 0. We can also activate here, just coming here and activating the terrain, for example. Okay, now we also have here on the 3D view. In any moment, we can activate or deactivate that information. I will deactivate that information. Now I will activate the section 1. That's going to be my reference, for example, to define the geometry of our airport or terminal. I will use this projection here and use the isometric projection. Okay, and here we have some reference lines. For example, I use these lines just to draw some lines here. Just some lines. These lines are actually behind the template. It's why I'm doing the lines a little bit bigger than the template. So then we can deactivate the template once we finish these lines. They are just reference lines. For example, here we can also add, for example, one line. I'm doing something a little bit fast just to show this example. Here, for example, and here, for example, and let's create here the line just in the middle of the model. Okay, I'm just creating some lines that could be my reference. If we deactivate the information now, the template now, we can see that we have this situation. We must add more reference lines. Let's activate again. Here, for example, let's create here an arc, a 3-point arc. For example, here, departing from this point, no orthogonality here. We create arc that it's here, that comes until this point, for example. Okay, and a second arc that comes from here through this point until, for example, this point here. Okay, let's see what we have here. Let's deactivate the here. Maybe we have some information. It's missing one arc that we have here. Let's activate that. Let's create that. So this arc here. So it's gonna be one arc from here that we can put here. This second point here. And from this point that was created here before, we can add a vertical line here. Okay, let's see how is that. Yeah, it's a little bit strange, but I think it's gonna work. So yeah, here it's gonna work. All right, here we can use this tool that is the Symmetry Copy. Just select everything. We know that this line was it was exactly the middle of the drawing. So I'll use that, and I will create this symmetry here. And using this reference, we can start creating a drawing because that was just a reference. Okay, so first I will create a layer that's going to be the main arc, for example, main arcs. Okay, the main arcs, I will activate this layer and I'll use these lines to create the main arcs. Okay, so I know. So here, for example, it's going to be not so precise, but because we are doing a little bit fast, okay? But we can be more precise, or we can also use the arc tool, okay? I'm just doing this example to show a little bit how these tools can be used, okay? So we created this site, and let's say that, let's use this line as a reference, for example, here. And we can also use the Symmetry Copy again. So I'll select all this information here, and I have this surface here. We can use, for example, the offset tool. Maybe here our surface is not finished yet. Let's see if it's finished now. Now you have a surface here. We can also change the color of the surface. For example, creating a material, for example, main arcs. Okay, and let's say that arcs are orange, for example. Then we can assign the material main arcs to the surface. Okay, it's easier to see it. Okay, then we can create the offset, for example. Let's create the offset of .4, for example. Okay, here we can create a line, for example, using this tool here. Actually, this is the real point. That was our reference. This line could be here. And this information here, we can delete, 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 delete. And now we have our arc. Okay. And here it's the same situation here and here. Okay. Here, let's put this information here. Okay. Let's assign the materials. These are the main arcs, and we can create a new material that could be steel deck, for example. Steel deck, I don't know, something like that. That's going to be gray. Gray, and let's put this material here. Then we must create these concrete portals here. Let's do that. I'll do here. Let's deactivate the orthogonality. Come on here, come on here. Let's create our arc. And from this point, we can go to the end here, 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 and here. And from this point, we can use the same trick again and create a symmetry of this geometry. And with a last line to finish here, we have a new surface. And this is going to be a new material. It's going to be the concrete portals or the concrete structure, for example, structure. Okay, this one's going to be purple. Purple, assign materials, concrete structures. Okay, it's blue, but we can, for example, here invert the surface because the surface have two faces. One is purple, the other one is blue, because the material here was color 1 purple and the second blue, and we can change here color 1, color 2. So if we put green here, for example, and accept, this one is green. Okay. But here we have a reference to our geometry, okay? The geometry of one of the elements of our building, okay? So the building have this format. We will repeat this geometry along the longitudinal axis of our building, and then add some beam elements to this sketch model. But we created this element on the level 0, and not on the vertical plane. We must rotate this element. How we do that? We can select, for example, this option here, rotate about an axis defined by 2 points, select everything here, and for example, using this axis, we can rotate 90 degrees, okay? 90 degrees, okay? And then what we can do, I have here some more information. This is some information about this project. We can see that these elements here are separated 12 meters and a half between elements. So we can do something like this. We can use this option here to copy and activate this option here of distance and say it's going to be 2.5. Then we can select, for example, from this point and put other elements here, okay? Just to do something here. From this point, we can export information to other softwares. I will export just to see what we have on other software. So I just used this option, exported. A local file was saved on my computer in this directory here, and I will open CYPE 3D, Extrude in CYPE 3D. Okay, I'll create here a new file here. It's going to be an empty project. Here we can select the parameters of our structural calculation. It doesn't matter at this moment. And when we are using BIMserver.center, BIMserver.center generates some files. One of these files is a 3D model that can be used as reference to this structure in this case. So I will import this model, just looking to this file in the folder of our project in my local copy of this file. So we have here on the folder BIM projects, this example that we've just created before, architecture. It's a DWG file. It's going to be this guy here. And look, the information is here. I will import everything at this moment. Let's import here. Let's wait a little bit. Here we have a lot of information. Some information that was used to generate some shells, for example, to calculate this concrete portal, and some information that was used, the lines that were used to generate some bars and some nodes. Okay, so I will clean some information that I don't want to use at this moment. So first, I will delete some nodes, for example, this node, this node, we can delete. Look that here we are using the same tool that we were using on CYPE architecture. Okay, I'll delete these nodes here, here, for example, here, we are almost there, we are almost there, almost there. Okay, and I will delete some shells. For example, this guy here. I don't want to use these shells here. Okay, this shell, yeah. So these nodes we can also delete too, and these nodes we can also delete too. These shells here, let's delete it here. This one, shells, delete. Okay, and these shells that we have here, I will simplify. I will use one option here that is the on shells. It was the let me remember where it was. Join all the shells to create a simple model. So now we have a unique shell here. Okay, from this point, it's a quite simple structure. We must add a lot of other elements, but it's going to work as an example. First, I will describe the bars, and I will add some material and some section to these bars. For example, I will say that all the bars of this structure, it's going to be better if we select not all the bars, but just the top, the structure of the top, just these elements here, for example, including these elements and these elements. We will say that these elements are one type of profile. Let's say, I don't know, I'm getting some, this is too big. Let's use, I don't know, this, it's too big too. For example, this profile here with of a material. And we can say that these shells are also a material, okay? For example, with a thickness, with a material. And here on the 3D view, we can see the information. So we are adding here the material of this this structure, okay? If I connect here to the same project of BIMserver.center, we can export this structural model to CYPE architecture again. Let me open here. Unfortunately, it's we don't have too many time to create all the model. I will show you the model in some steps more developed. Let me just synchronize here. Let's select the project. It's waiting a little bit. Yep. Let me open the project in a step a little bit more developed. So here it was. Let me see more. This was the same project with the structure calculated and generated on CYPE 3D. So as you can see here, the structure was synchronized here with this button update, and I created a 3D view and selected the structural model that came from CYPE 3D. We have different type of bars. Then with extrusion, I created the glass here on the roof with an architectural vertical element, in this case a roof by surface. I create these walls here on the bottom of the ellipse, okay, and also the portals here using the same technique, you know? So using the sketch reference to generate the beam element or the construction element, okay. So here, coming back to the model that we were developing before, I will just select the same project, and I will export this this structure that is missing a lot of elements. Yeah, we must calculate before that. That's the point. I think it was not possible to export because we must set some other elements before. But the idea is use these menus to send and receive information from one software to other software, different disciplines, different specialized softwares, and maybe different persons on your team that can be working together in a same project. Okay. So I'll just look to the questions. If you have any question, please send us. We have 4 minutes yet. We must finish in 4 minutes. But during these 4 minutes, I will take a look on the questions. Here, Javier, it's asking us if it's important, is possible to import models from other 3D design softwares like Rhino, SketchUp. Actually, at this moment, CYPE Architecture have just 2 months, and it's not possible to import any other 3D models from other modelers. Maybe in the future we'll be working on something like that. But at this moment, with just 2 months, it's not possible to import this information. You can export to different formats. You can export, of course, in IFC, in Gltf, and also using this little tool here. Using this little tool here, the print, you can export in DWG, 3D, and Gltf directly from here. This format is quite nice because you can export this element. It's a very light file, and the Windows 10, the version 10 of Windows, have a native Gltf viewer, so you can see the 3D model with all the textures and colors in any computer that have Windows without having any software, neither AutoCAD or SketchUp or Revit or CYPE, any software. You just opening this as you can open a PDF or a JPG, because Windows 10 includes this kind of 3D viewer. Okay. This format is very nice to be used then to 3D printing, for example. Okay. Let me see here if we have more questions. Okay, I think we don't have any other questions. So it was a pleasure. Thank you very much to be with us here until this moment. After almost 1 hour and a half minutes, 1 hour and a half of presentation. So actually, most of you are connected yet. So thank you very much for your presence. I invite you to the next presentation. So tomorrow, let me open here the calendar. So tomorrow, no. So on next, today is Monday. So on next week, or Wednesday, we have a new seminar about MEAP. So some building facility softwares. And then on Thursday, we have this project management and model checking seminar. So you can subscribe to these seminars for free using the CYPE website. I will also share the link through the chat. You can use this link to subscribe to the seminars we'll be doing during this week. Okay. Once again, it was a pleasure to share a little bit about CYPE architecture with you, and I hope I see you in a next opportunity. Bye bye.